Disclaimer, I am not a professional mechanic. This video is not the best way to do this job. It is merely me depicting my struggles and ultimate success in replacing the inverter coolant pump on my 2007 Prius. So, take it for what it's worth, which is not very much. Hey, how you doing? Duff here. Time for another Toyota Prius repair / maintenance video. It's been a while. Last thing you probably heard from me about my Prius was my continued issues I had with the hybrid battery pack. I had battery for Prius come out. Alright, so anyways, as I was saying, last thing you heard from me was the issues with my hybrid battery pack. I had battery for Prius come out not once but twice to replace the pack. Last time was probably maybe a month now at this point, and yeah, knock on wood, so far so good. This is my third pack. It's been fine. I've had no issues. I've had no reoccurrence of the red triangle of death. I've been averaging somewhere in the neighborhood of 52 miles per gallon, so yeah, no problems. But today's video is about something that I've been putting off for a long time. Even dating back prior to my hybrid battery pack errors, and that's a code that I was getting. I was getting a check engine light, a P1121 error. And when you look up that error, it has to do with the coolant control valve being faulty. And when you do a search on the internet, you'll see lots and lots and lots of references to this. It evidently is a common problem with the Prius, and it has to do with the coolant control valve, and this is it. Now, I opted to buy a brand new one. I've seen a lot of videos where people are buying like used ones off eBay, I guess, to save some money. I think this was, I have to look it up, but it was somewhere around 70 something bucks, 60 something bucks for a brand new one. I bought it on Amazon. I'll put the link below. But it actually came from a Toyota dealer, so this is a brand new replacement. In addition to that, for this job, I bought some hose clamps, because one of the things I've seen when I was researching it was there's issues with if you don't clamp the hoses, you leak all kinds of coolant fluid all over the place, and then you got to go through burping the system and bleeding it. And I didn't feel like doing any of that, so I'm going to try to clamp off. There's 3 hoses involved. I'm going to clamp those off best I can prior to removing them. And the only other thing I have is these are just some replacement clips for the little plastic shroud that goes over the top, because the vast majority of mine are broken. So I've got some new clips to replace those. So let's get going. Okay, first thing that's necessary for almost anything that you're doing on a Prius is you remove this plastic shroud here. Okay, if you somehow still have all of your fasteners, you'll be removing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. I have about half of mine at this point. Okay, after removing those, this cover just lifts off very easily. Okay, so the thing that we need to replace lives right there, okay, in front of the inverter. So in order to get clearance to be able to work on it, what is recommended is that we remove the 2 mounting bolts here and here, and then we can lift the inverter assembly up to give us some more clearance to work. These 2 bolts here are 12 millimeter. Let me just zip these 2 off real quick and I'll be right back. I forgot to mention, the other thing I got for this job is I got genuine Toyota 50/50 coolant to replace whatever I lose. You don't need to get the OEM stuff, but I just decided to do it just for peace of mind. Okay, so got those 2 bolts out. Let's see how easy this is to prop up. Alright, just got 2x4 under there, and hopefully that should give me enough room. So you have 2 hoses going into the top of it, and there's 1 in the bottom. Now there are 2 bolts that hold this assembly on. Well, 1 bolt and 1 nut right there, and I believe they're both 10 millimeter. I saw that it was advised to get the hoses off while it's still attached, just to give you more leverage, because these kind of fittings are kind of a pain in the ass sometimes to get loose. So I'm going to first try to get my hose clamps on there. I don't know that there's a graceful way to do this, but I'm just kind of holding it in place and going to tighten that wing nut to choke off the coolant. I forgot, one thing I wanted to mention about this error was one of the reasons that I haven't had a lot of urgency to replace it is because the check engine light has been coming and going. A couple times I've cleared it myself and it would stay off for weeks, if not even months at a time. And then there's times where that code would be thrown and it would turn off itself. It would clear itself. So I think this valve is it's going, but it's not totally gone yet. So don't be surprised if you would see similar behavior to that on yours. Seems a little inconsistent. Okay, still clamping. And these clamps, to be honest, they're not quite big enough. They need to be a little bit longer this way. I'm still going to use them, but I might have some leakage. So these hoses are a little fatter than I thought they were. Okay, so now I'm going to try to get these clamps off. These are the, I'm already bleeding, nice. These are the annoying kind where you got to try to squeeze, and while you're squeezing, slide them back. So I definitely can't hold the camera and do it at the same time, so I'll let you know how it goes. Okay, I got the first one off. You want to try to be mindful of the position of each of them, because they obviously need to go back to the same spot on the control valve. So first one's off, working on number 2. I just added a support on this side as well to give me even more space. Alright, second one's out, and even though I have the hose somewhat clamped, it doesn't stop antifreeze from coming out the actual valve itself. So much for not having to add antifreeze. Alright, before I try to get that bottom hose off, I'm actually taking these bolts off, so I'm able to kind of move the valve around so I can get better access to that hose. Because the way it is now, I don't know how I will get anything in there to pinch that clamp. Extension bars are your friend. I'm trying to get the nut off here first. Okay, the nut's off. Now I need to get the bolt right there. Like I said earlier, both of these were 10 millimeter. That nut was actually 12 millimeter. The bolt is 10 millimeters down there. All right, bolts out. We need to get this electrical connector disconnected. I believe there's just a tab on where my thumb is that you squeeze to get it out. Holy shit, what a freaking mess, man. Ay, ay, ay. All right, have the hose off. Let's get it. Ay, ay, ay. I'm so freaking frustrated, man. To get this out, you have to turn it upside down and rotate it and just kind of work it out the space you have. Yay, it's freaking out. Oh my god. Got antifreeze everywhere. It did not seem like that much of a struggle when I was watching other people do this. Oh my god. What an immense pain in the ass. And as I was doing it, my one clamp came off the hose, so I lost even more antifreeze. And the one hose slipped down from where I had it wedged. So now I'm questioning which hose connects where. On the two upper fittings, so I need to get that right, obviously, before I continue. So let me, I mean, one is clearly above the other here, but you gotta be sure. I'm gonna go see if I can find it online. Alright, so once again, there's your bottom hose. I just checked a reference online. This should be my top, that should be my bottom. But a good tip is, before you even start, just like take a marker or something, piece of paint, whatever, just mark that top hose so it's very clear which one it is. So now I have to try to get this back in. Goes in upside down, and then you got to flip it, and then somehow I have to attach attach that bottom hose. It's gonna be awesome. And it looks like I pretty much drained my coolant. This is crazy, man. Why do I do this to myself? Okay, I have the new pump down in there. Now I need to try to get it back on the bottom hose. It's gonna be awesome. Okay, that actually pushed together all right. Yeah, that actually, the bottom one actually pushed on pretty easily, probably because of all the antifreeze acting like lubricant. So now I need to get that clamp back up in position. It's still sitting there loose. I just have the, where's my bracket at? Right there is how it sits. So I'm going to get that bottom bracket on, and then if I can get that, or a clamp I should say, once I get that on, I think I should be able to put the bolt and the nut back in and go from there. The couple videos I watched of people doing this, they all were doing it from the top. I did just see one where a guy removed the engine cover in the bottom, which gives you better access to that bottom clamp. I can tell you, fighting to get that bottom hose on, at least for me, is freaking torturous, man. I think I have it on finally, but man, what a hassle. So I've had to like twist and hold this with one hand and then trying to get on that clamp with the other and push up with the hose, and all right, it's on there. So let's continue. All right, I'm reattaching the bolt and the nut, and then I will be connecting the top two hoses and the electrical connector. Bottom hose on. I do notice that there's like a silver marking on there, almost looks like a silver arrow pointing that way. So maybe that has to do with the direction flow. This is fucking ridiculous, man. Ridiculous try to manipulate these clamps with minimal space, try to get tools down there to squeeze it. Fuck that, man. This is ridiculous. Whoever put out the videos acting like it wasn't a pain in the ass, you're doing a misservice. Oh my god. Alright. All three hoses are reattached. And hopefully the clamps are where they should be. Frickin' ridiculous battle. Let's try to get that back in, man. All I gotta do is connect the electrical connector. Alright, there you go. Coolant control valve, whatever the hell it's called, is back in place. I'm going to put the inverter down, and obviously I'm going to need to add a lot of coolant. I did not expect to struggle this much. I mean, I knew it was going to be tight. But all the videos that I watched, you're like, yeah, you know, it's a little bit of a struggle to get the hose clamps off and blah blah blah. I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm just that unskilled, but that was just crazy. And I don't understand what the point is of getting hose clamps, because as soon as I removed the first hose, even though that hose was clamped, all the coolant ran right out the valve anyways. So I don't know, maybe you should have like a rubber, if you had a rubber boot that you could put over the valve when you pull the hose off, that I guess that would have prevented it. Alright, right here's the coolant tank. I'm going to top this off, leave the top off so it can burp, and hopefully that's all I need to do. I'm gonna get the engine running and let it run and circulate and see how it goes. And of course I need to make sure that none of these hoses are leaking. Added some coolant, and I'm going to try to start it up. I need to go drive it. There's a special diagnostic mode you can put it in that forces the gas engine to keep running. I'm just going to go drive it. Alright, here we go in daylight. Here you see my replacement pump in place. Just did roughly a 10-mile test drive. Feels fine. I don't see any leaks. I filled the radiator and the reservoir tank with coolant. let it run for a while to burp the system. I'm not sure if that's 100% everything that you should do when you're adding coolant, but it seems fine. So now I just need to put the plastic cover back on. Of course, the replacement fasteners I got are too big. They don't fit. Alright, that's it. I'm done. To be honest with you, I struggle to even find a reason to post this video other than made for entertainment purposes, just to show how frustrating it can be. I don't know, maybe if you have smaller hands it wouldn't be such a hassle, but I don't know. I just had such a hard time trying to manipulate tools down in that space to mess with those clamps. It was just a tremendous struggle for me. So if you have smaller hands, maybe it wouldn't be quite so bad for you. And again, if you remove the bottom engine cover, it came up from underneath to work on the bottom part of the valve, that might be easier, the hose that connects to the bottom. But other than that, yeah, it's not a fun job. It was fine on the test drive. I'll keep an eye on the coolant, but I think I'm good to go. No leaks that I saw, so I think I'm good to go. So, and again, my disclaimer: I'm not a mechanic. I'm just a hard-headed person that I don't know, needs frustrating things to keep me going, I guess. I don't know. So if you found this video interesting, it certainly wasn't all that informative, at least as far as the right way to do things, but please give the video a big thumbs up or a big thumbs down. If you're a professional mechanic, I'm sure you'll give it a double thumbs down. If this is your first time visiting the channel, please consider subscribing. And that's all I have for you for now. Hope you have a great Labor Day tomorrow, and until next time, talk to you now.